So we're going to start this mobility routine from the ground up, starting here with our big toe and a foot stretch. And what we're doing here is we're straightening all around our big toe, our foot, and around our ankle. To perform this exercise, you can start into a kind of high position there, the hips locked out, and your big toe is on the ground. To further progress this exercise and get more tension all around the foot, you can lean back into the heels, sit into the heels. This puts more tension around the big toe, the foot, and the ankles. To further progress this exercise, you can add pulses in this bottom position. And this is putting more tension around the foot and the big toe. We're looking to stay in this position for around 30 to 60 seconds.
Now we're going to move on to the single leg Jefferson curl. This is going to stretch while strengthening our hamstrings, calves, and our spine. A few form cues to look out for when doing this is our front foot toe elevated, our back leg behind with our knee slightly bent, tucking the chin, rounding the shoulders, rounding the spine, trying to get our hands as low as possible, or using assistance if you can't get fully down to the ground. Till eventually you're going to be able to cross your arms and try to get your elbows to toes. Looking to do 20 reps on each side. Now we're going to look at the Jefferson curl, having both feet on a slant or on a dumbbell. This is going to stretch while strengthening our hamstrings, calves, lower back, and our spine. So a few form cues to look out for is to keep the chin tucked, round your shoulders, and lower your hands as low as possible, keeping our two legs locked out and straight, and then coming up, squeezing the hamstrings, squeezing the glutes, and coming back up. To progress this further, you can add load, holding the dumbbell in a zercher position, trying to get as low as possible. You can also add more height and use a barbell. To elephant walks. These are going to loosen up our hamstrings, calves, and our lower back. Looking to get our palms to the floor, both heels on the ground, straightening one leg at a time while the other leg is bent. Really trying to squeeze the quad on our straight leg. And if you're not able to get your palms fully on the floor, to progress this exercise, you're going to have your palms on a height and doing the exact same thing. One leg straight, one leg bent. Both heels on the floor and squeezing your quad on the straight leg to really feel the stretch.
Now we have the couch stretch. This stretches while straightening out the hip flexor in this position here. The setup into the half lunge position like so. The closer your knee is to the wall, the harder and more of a stretch there is in the hip flexor. The more you lean back, the harder and more of a stretch you find the hip flexor here again. So what you want to get is the head, then shoulders to the wall. And you want to squeeze the working legs glute to get a further stretch here in the hip flexor. To regress this exercise, you can have your knee further away from the wall and you can lean forward so your head and shoulders are away from the wall. To regress this exercise even further, you can use a bench set up like so. For the setup for this is knee try tucked in close to the bench as possible. You're hugging the bench like so, front of the foot in against the bench. You're squeezing the near glute to get a further stretch in the hip flexor. Your opposite leg can be straight.
So now we're going on to the ATG split squat. This is going to help strengthening your hip flexor through length. It's also going to build connective tissue around your knee and increase the range of motion you have in your knee joint. So to regress the split squat, you're going to lift your front foot up as high as possible. That allows you to get your knee in a full range of motion. But if this kind of depth is too much, you can always drop your heel on the ground and come to a level that suits you and gives no pain. Also use an assistance to help keep yourself stable and get the most out of the stretch. Until eventually you keep lowering the height of your front foot until you're on the flat ground. There's going to be a greater demand on your ankle mobility the lower you get, so we're going to elevate the heel on our front foot. We're also looking to keep our glute engaged, which is going to lift our back knee off the ground and also help engage our hip flexor more.
Now we have the butterfly stretch. This targets the inner hip muscles around the groin and the adductors. The setup is have your glutes as close to the wall as possible, trying to get your knees as close to the floor as possible. You can use weight to help get your knees closer to the ground. This will give you a greater stretch in around the groins. We're looking to do 20 reps, pausing at the bottom for 1 to 2 seconds. So now we have the pigeon pose. This works our outer glute muscle, the piriformis out here, and the glutes. To set up, we want to have our front foot in line with the bench, like so. Our back leg is going to be straight, trying to get our chest to knee and head towards the bench. You can use your arms here for support. To make it even harder, you can take the hands away, like so. To regress this exercise, you can have the bench at an incline, foot in between the seat and the main bench. The higher the incline, the easier it is. So to progress this exercise even further, you can add load using a weight. Holding the weight in the opposite arm. Good alternative is doing this on the floor. So you want to be in a 90-90 position for this, where your calves are parallel to your quads. For sets and reps, around 20 reps on each side is a good marker to aim for.
Now we're going to move on to the dumbbell pullover. This is going to stretch while strengthening our chest, our lats and our upper back. A few form points to look out for on this is to have your shoulders at the edge of the bench, the dumbbell cupped in your hands, having your glutes engaged and your hips up and lowering the dumbbell slowly. You can also drop your hips at the same time as the dumbbell to increase the stretch. Bringing the dumbbell back up to eye level while also bringing your hips up. And if the cross bench pullover is too much, we can lie on a flat bench, looking to have our head and our bum on the bench at all times. To further regress this exercise, we're going to move on to the wall pullover. Looking to push our hands against the wall and pushing our head down towards the ground while coming back up.